According to the story, the drill bit chewed through limestone, granite, and straight into the Earth's mantle for 90 consecutive days. The roughnecks pulled up pipes so hot it turned the rain into steam before it could even hit the ground. On the 91st day, the bit finally broke through into a void, sending a gusher roaring up the pipe. But the crude was mixed with chopsticks and rice. The driller had gone straight through the planet and ruined a Chinese rice paddy. To solve the ensuing diplomatic crisis, he simply crammed a garage-sized dill pickle down the casing to plug the leak. The man on the brake was Kemp Morgan. The stories say his hands were so massive he could palm a 12-inch gate valve, and he drank 50-gallon drums of rye whiskey chased with beer served in a longhorn steer's horn. The image of a pickle-plugged planet belongs to a specific type of folklore. These stories emerged from a workforce that used extreme exaggeration to navigate the overwhelming scale of the industrial frontier. After the Spindletop discovery in 1901, the Texas plains filled with chaotic boomtowns built out of canvas shacks and raw timber. It was a gold rush fueled by crude oil. While figures like Pecos Bill were largely invented by writers looking to sell magazines, Kemp Morgan grew organically from the men actually living in those boomtown camps. The men working those rigs pulled 12 hours a day, swinging massive iron tongs and hauling slick, heavy pipe. It was grueling, bone-crushing labor, performed on a floor slippery with toxic crude. The folklore of Kemp Morgan emerged directly from that exhaustion. Workers used these myths as a form of psychological armor, helping them endure a job that was as unpredictable as it was dangerous. The folklore scales with the danger. One popular tale places Kemp on the Texas coastal plain. His rig hit a pocket of pressure so immense that the entire derrick was blasted into low Earth orbit. The oil and salt water flowed for 3 weeks, flooding the coastal geography. The weight of that endless gusher caused the ground to cave in, forming the modern Gulf of Mexico. Kemp's reaction to accidentally creating a sea was a shrug. He supposedly wiped his mustache and claimed he meant to do it, noting it would make a good harbor. This diagram illustrates a gas kick. When the bit strikes pressurized gas, it accelerates upward, expanding. If unsealed, it violently ejects the drilling mud. Once that cloud hits an ignition source, the derrick floor erupts in a lethal fireball. This is the scale of a historical blowout, a towering column of high-pressure fluid ripping heavy steel structures apart. These were events that human strength alone could not contain. By sharing stories of a man who could brush off an explosion swallowing half of Texas, the workers reclaimed a sense of control over an environment that often rendered them powerless. The economic structure of the early oil booms was stark. While wealth flowed upward to corporate trusts, the physical risk was pushed down entirely onto an expendable workforce. In these stories, the primary antagonist is the slick, fast-talking leasehound, a figure who arrived in boomtowns to strip mine land rights rather than drilling for oil. In one popular tale, an Eastern swindler tries tricking Kemp into an exploitative land contract. Kemp studies the fine print, dips the legal document into a barrel of sour crude, and eats it. He tells the man the contract will be honored, digestively speaking. In another, a giant corporate trust tries buying a widow's land for a fraction of its value. Kemp outbids them, brings in his massive rig, and drills her a well that produces pure, sweet drinking water. The trust wanted profit. The widow needed water. Kemp Morgan possessed too much muscle and skill to be bought, bullied, or swindled. He was an avatar for the roughnecks, a man capable of enforcing a sense of fairness that was often absent in the real oil patch. The chaos of those boom towns eventually faded into the past. By the 1930s, the oil industry was professionalizing, and the wild tales of the bunkhouse were beginning to disappear. Fortunately, scholars like Modi Boatwright and the Texas Folklore Society began traveling to the remaining camps to document these specific tales. Boatwright recognized these stories as the unwritten oral history of an invisible workforce. Through his work, the jokes told on derrick floors became a permanent record of the roughneck experience. nodding of the pump jacks, and the infrastructure built by the very men who dreamed him up. When ordinary people are trapped in a brutal reality they cannot control, they will use storytelling to invent a hero whose power is larger than their own fear.